Everybody, welcome back to the CCL. We are in week number 2, day number 1 of week number 2. It's going to get to the point, McCormick, where we're going to get so far into the season, I'm going to forget and just mess up all of the numbers and words. But for now, we're good because we're still early on here, bud.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, Shift. And, looking at these two rosters here tonight, I mean, I'm just excited to be here and with you on this Alpha stream, ready to watch these two teams do battle on the battlefield and Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, because that's something that we all love and have come to love over the course of this year thus far.
Indeed the case. And the two teams that we're talking about, at least we will be talking about here in a moment, is our first stream on board for you guys. It's Concordia from Wisconsin going up against the Northern Iowa Purple squad. And then to kind of go through the rest of the schedule for the day, a big battle in the Lone Star State coming up. We've got University of Texas at Dallas, their orange team playing up against Texas State. You're not going to want to miss that one. Both teams ranked in the top 25. And then we've got Grossmont Community College going up against Grand Canyon. That's going to be another really good one. And then, of course, there's also two streams that are happening here for us. We've got Iowa going up against Northwestern Missouri State happening as their opening matchup on the Bravo stream. And then Oklahoma going up against Oklahoma State, little in-state rivalry there as well. And then that stream will finish off with, actually will be a pretty solid match. University of Arizona will be going up against Colorado at Colorado Springs. Two very solid teams there as well. So again, this is just day number 1. We've got day 2, of course, tomorrow. But for the 6 matches that'll be covered between our stream here and the Bravo stream, a lot to look forward to. And I would say most importantly, as far as what to look forward to, what you're striving for UNI Purple, they're an 0-2 start. Need to find a win here, you feel like. And they've got a tough opponent, McCormick. This Concordia, Wisconsin team has been tested already, and they're 2-0 in their division.
Yeah, and folks, this is going to be a division rivalry between the North Central Division B. So looking at these two teams and kind of how they stack up against one another, we were looking towards what the side of University Purple or University Northern Iowa needed to do here in this matchup against the side of Concordia. And the reason is because the last 2 matches that they had, not only did they lose at 0-2, and not only is their record 0-2, but they did lose both of those matches in an 0-3 fashion. So against Illini Blue, a roster that has shown themselves to have a little bit of potency here inside of the CCL thus far, they did lose that 0-3, and especially in that hardpoint game where, a game where you want to kick things off with, it was a 250-62 scoreline in that first matchup. And then, of course, they played Madison Esports, and again, their hardpoint was not at their strong suit. They had another game where they lost by over 100 points. This out of Madison Esports. So going into this matchup, starting off hot is going to be the big thing, hot ticket on the table for themselves. And against a team that is 2-0 already here inside of the CCL on the side of Concordia University of Wisconsin, they are going to need to start good, strong, and they're going to come out the gates swinging, especially playing together as a team.
Yeah, I was about to say, just for the Concordia, Wisconsin team, you're already in a really solid position. We got to remember the format. After we get through this initial division round robin, you're going to be put into either a top cut or a bottom cut of your entire region. And obviously, if you find yourself in that top cut, your chances of making playoffs feel like they're going to be that much higher. So not to sit there and say that the season is already over for Northern Iowa, because they'll have a chance potentially, if the season does not start off well for them, to continue to try to fight for that playoff position by being in that bottom cut. That's that's full speculation to assume that UNI Purple isn't able to pick things back up against. But again, not exactly the most difficult opponents in the division for UNI Purple initially. So we're hoping to see some immediate improvements versus what looks to be a very solid Concordia, Wisconsin team coming up. You will also see very much so on the top of the UI here what our map and mode combinations will be for this best of 5 set. We're going to be seeing quite a bit of raid if we get all 5 maps. It'll be the 1, 3, and the 5. And then we'll have Miami for the first search and destroy, and Checkmate, if we need to hear McCormick, as the second hardpoint.
Yeah, and for the first hard point going into this raid, kind of the outlook for this series thus far, it's going to be getting those ARs out in full form. And of course, the SMGs are going to be raining terror across a lot of those pinch points along the map, but making sure you have your strong ARs here on raid is one of the most important things, because you have so many angles, so many points that you have to lock down. P1 namely is going to be huge, getting control of either that top laundry side or control of top art, or even playing from water steps, getting a line of sight over towards pillars and through P1 in that regard as well. So, there's a lot of diversity. The way you can play this map is especially big, but it's all going to be about controlling those spawns throughout this map, especially since it's, again, unlike a lot of the maps we see in Cold War, to where spawns kind of flip-flop across the map consistently almost every single point.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting, and I think for the we talked about for this UNI squad, hoping to see some immediate improvements here for them, and we will be jumping in. Concordia will be in the blue, UNI Purple will be in the white here to get us going, and the natural first one will be there for Treasy. So Okay, not bad. You're able to get yourself an early 4v3. See if you can make use of it here to try to win the hardpoint. But as the kills will start to come through, we go back and forth. And that leads to a pretty contested hardpoint initially, with the Panthers of University of Northern Iowa finding a little bit of early time.
Well, Concordia is going to be opting to push it over towards middle map here to maybe get some control of the pillar side. 5, and right off the rip, it has been the man, the myth, and the legend. He's been able to get a couple of kills over towards this point. 2-0 start for him here. So, again, we talked about how UNI Purple needed to go ahead and find themselves an early lead here. They were able to do that thus far. However, they finally do get broken into, and that is going to actually allow the side of Concordia to possibly go ahead and push through those laundry spawns, and especially player 8 cannot go ahead and win this gunfight against player number 2, which it does not look like it'll be able to happen. The pinch play comes through for those backside spawns with 10 seconds left. We're looking to rotation for B2.
Yeah, nice little movement here across the map for the Falcons of Concordia, Wisconsin. They're able to not only just break to the hard point, but again, this is a very solid setup for them. They know that laundry is going to be safe, that both of the players that are inside the hard point can just focus to the front. And how about it? There's also going to be Cruzy coming from behind to make sure he can pinch up that initial hit. So that'll be about the first 20 seconds or so going in favor of the Falcons. But for the Northern Iowa boys, it looks like they're going to try to pinch this from multiple angles. Just comes down to, can you time this correctly? And so far, the answer has been no. Just one kill to speak of, a 3-for-1 exchange. And Concordia, Wisconsin will hold the initial break attempt.
3 streak, that's going to be Siri, but as Dreezy finds a double to go ahead and find his side, he'll find all 3 heads with the triple there as well. So hill time now for the side of UNI Purple as they break through. However, they don't get those back spawns, but that's going to actually be in the plus side for them as they get ready to rotate on through middle map. They're going to have those rotations over towards the garage side. And again, even though they didn't have those rotations to kitchen, they didn't get a lot of time. It's still very possible and very potential that they can get at least maybe 30 to 40 seconds of time here on the next hill. It all comes down to those initial gunfights, though. See who's going to be able to find that, at least for the time being. And then, of course, if the side of UNI Purple can hold on, they can about tie this game up and or take a full 60.
You know, I'll say this much, McCormill, for a team that's coming into this matchup 0-2 with not many success stories to kind of build off of, they're actually zoning off this third hardpoint pretty well. They should be able to get a read as far as where this Concordia University squad is going to be coming from. And now as Siri takes a couple of shots, that will be a confirmation that this will be a hit over through the gym. Got one down low. It's going to be Huey able to find one, but not able to get more than that. And with the hit coming through, the Falcons will break, and they will stall right around just the 70-point mark.
Remember this, if you are a stats guy, that's gal, folks. One player to look out for is going to be Siri from the side of Concordia University. Coming into this, he's got a 1.85 KD here inside of all the hardpoint matches that they played throughout week 1 of the CCL season, so can look for him to continue to go ahead and find his way here through on this map of Raid, especially here in map number 1 for this best of 5 series. But as we do look over towards the next rotations for basketball courts, unfortunately for the side of UNI Purple, they are not going to be able to find those initial rotations as they were over towards the garage hill. It's going to be Concordia University who do have these early rotations. They have the backside spawns and they've got the power positions watched, ready to go as they're going to come a-blazing.
Able to find one, not going to get the second. It would have been for him as he's got Jackson trying to play from the front, but the pitch will be unsuccessful. So once again, we got a nice situation here for Concordia, Wisconsin, where they've dealt with the initial hit. Now, last time we were on this side of the map, though, the Panthers found a really nice job getting around the back and eventually opening things up. And my goodness, are they going to do it again? That's 3 straight kills for them. Last player is you done got me, and he done get got. So now you've got 70 points for UNI. CUW stalled at 91 and still a good amount of time here to soak up.
I love the break there. They do a great job of getting in towards that point and wrapping around every angle, getting those initial gunfights, and of course, more importantly, taking over that hill time. 20 seconds of scrap time is going to be all theirs to keep unless the side of Concordia do go ahead and push through. But as Jackson finds another 2 on a 5 streak here, almost able to pick up number 6, will meet his demise. Concordia University once again do wrap over towards middle map. They get the early rotations. However, if the side of University of Northern Iowa isn't have anything to say about it, they are going to be at least able to win a couple of gunfights. However, Concordia hold on strong. 50 seconds of scrap time, 50 seconds of hill time is all there to keep it. They can keep the side of University of Northern Iowa out at this point.
The Cornmeal, is it just me, or are you a bit surprised looking back at the stat lines from the first week from this UNI Purple team? They're playing pretty good hardpoint right now. I mean, kind of came into this match expecting Concordia, Wisconsin to have a lot of favor, but the Panthers from Northern Iowa are really playing pretty darn well. I mean, you've got players snapping all over the place. Jackson, Breezy, Poshki, all very much so positive. We're finding a lot of positive influence across the map, and they've done well so far in this first rotation to keep what we thought was going to be this Falcons roster snowballing ahead. They've been checked in to toe, and you've got UNI with a lead here.
And I will say, Shift, you know, the one thing that I will say for the side of UNI
Hello.
is that, okay, well, UNI, they've been playing together as a unit all around the map. If you've watched the entire game, you noted it out over towards that garage point. They had an initial line of defense lined up extremely well. They were catching every single angle that everybody else could not pick up, and they were able to do it extremely well. They were able to do the same thing there on P5 as they broke through water steps, zigzag, and kitchen when they got those split spawns. So, again, you look at this map for the side of UNI Purple, and although coming into this, we said, you know, they might not have the greatest chance, obviously, starting out 0-2. You're looking here, you've got a smile on your face because, hey, game number one, you've got an opportunity to take it right away.
Yeah, hot dog. I mean, this would be a hell of a time to find your first map win on this season. And we don't want to try to say it's going to happen here before the fat lady sings, but my goodness, the vocal warm-up seem to be coming through. But for Concordia, this is one of their better rotations from the first set of hills that we had. The problem is they don't really have anybody who's even close to contesting the hard point time. So finally someone will jump on. Dewey will find a way to get the elimination. Well, actually not really. He gets tucked down. And with that, we will get a break for Concordia, Wisconsin. And they could potentially not just tie, but re-put themselves back in the lead.
Well, the good news for UNI there is they did their job correctly. They were able to hold down Concordia, at least for a little bit of time, just continuously get into the hill to where they can contest against them. And what that did is that allowed them to have basically a no-point lead going over towards this kitchen hill, even though they had those rotations initially. So a break through the front potential for the side of UNI Purple. However, they've got to get at least one. It starts with Dreezy taking down Meathead, and as the forward march continues to come through, it's been Concordia who's been able to hold strong. Now, it's actually going to be a pinch play coming through the back here, too. This could spell trouble for Concordia, but it also could be exactly what they need, because with 30 seconds left, they could find the rotations over towards the garage hill, throw caution to the wind, say goodbye to the kitchen, and get themselves a nice, comfortable lead as they rotate on over there.
Yeah, you done got me already making that rotation happen with 23 seconds. Is it a bit too early? You might be wondering. Poshki finds a couple. This is a big scrap, 20 seconds, and yeah, the Panthers are recognizing, wait a second, there's not a lot of players here. They must have already made it over to the garage. Siri's going to be trapped into money. He tries to take one last challenge for the back 10 seconds, gets put down. And so now again, the Panthers will find themselves with a very small marginal lead. It'll literally be a single point if they soak every last second of it. And it looks like maybe that last second may have been contested. Regardless, though, we go back over to the garage hard point. This is another rotation where the Falcons from Concordia, Wisconsin were very successful, but UNI Purple already have control over AC. One last player to deal with inside the hard point. Poshki finds it. He's 23-20, and the Panthers are able to break the garage open early.
Well, not only do UNI Purple get themselves in towards this point, that's also the most points they've gotten in a hard point this season in total. So an opportunity now to go ahead and stretch that out even further. 180 points to the side of UNI Purple, now a 10-point lead, but as Cruzy's going to fly in, he'll try to stay his life, try to contest for as long as humanly possible. But as the Semtex rain fire from above, 3 players from the side of UNI Purple are inside, all looking for these last 2 players. But as Siri finds one, Dewey's going to pop in and find one as well. The trades go back and forth, but you know what the side of Concord University did there? They were able to hold this hill to about 8 seconds left there at the end beforehand with that contest, to where UNI Purple, even though they looked like they were going to get 30 seconds of scrap time, they don't get any of the last points, and they're only up by 12 on the rotation that Concordia has already won.
I think we need to give just a small little Twitch clap here for Dewey. He's 8-16, but he's already got 2 minutes and 45 seconds or so worth of hard point time. I mean, that's almost every single point that UNI had. It was Dewey able to find a way to get that generated for his squad. Now, again, we've got a hit from the back while being pinched up to the front. Cruzy trying to get there, but he actually gets stuck by a teammate. That's a bit unfortunate. And Jackson locking things down from the front. And Craig finding so much value will take down 2. And once again, the Panthers, on their initial pet for basketball, are able to break.
I'm glad that you pointed out Dewey having about 3 minutes of hill time now, because one of the things I always love to talk about in Call of Duty, especially on a roster that you might not be the highest flying Slayer on, if you can play your objective time well, you can be the rock that they need to where everybody can slay around you. It really doesn't matter at the end of the day what your scoreline is looking like. If you get the win, if you get the most points on the team, you're helping out your team in the quite literally the most important way possible with the objective inside of the game. So the only time that might matter when it comes down to control, but right now instead of this hard one, he's done a great job, and look where he is once again, playing in towards the hill. The objective kills over the top, helps his teammate. They're inside the point, 2:15, 2:05, 10-point lead with 45 seconds left on P5.
Seen a lot of crazy things happen on this fifth hardpoint in the last couple of weeks. Will there be another instance of it? Concordia desperately need to find a way to break, and the last player to stay alive will be Poppy. Cruzy coming through from the pillars. We'll try to change that storyline while he jumps on in. 30 seconds to play here, and with every ticking moment that goes away, it's the ability for Purple to really not actually win out here anymore. So there's going to have to be another hard point, but Jackson, nice little slide chow, finds himself two. And that will be likely a vast majority of this scrap time going over to Northern Iowa. Concordia looking to challenge one last time to bounce the Panthers off of P5, but they will not be 100% successful in the endeavor. And really, even if they're not able to get the bounce out, they lose the rotation to P1.
Oh, even if they did play for the scrap time, the side of UNI Purple wouldn't have been able to win off of that hill time either, so they spawn all the way over towards the basketball courts. Now they have to make a full trick back to the point where UNI Purple just has a stone walk all the way out towards that P1 hardpoint from P5 rotations. Meathead inside will find one, looks for the second over towards Art, but his teammate in Siri is there for the help. 34-18 thus far. Concordia is inside of the point. They can all win off of this hardpoint. However, UNI Purple now with an opportunity to find the break back shift. Just 8 more points will win the side of University, the side of the win.
We got Northern Iowa just with 2 players remaining. Cruzy wants to take the challenge. He finds one, not going to get the second, but UE will be taken down. 23 seconds on the hard point. Both teams still can win it here. Jackson on the way forward finds one. He'll be able to contest. At a certain point, if you're the Panthers, you also have to consider the fact that we need to maybe rotate here if we can't clear these players off the hill. Meathead trying to find players up top, but it's Dreezy, it's Jackson. They find a way to come on in. They break the hard point up. Will they get the last tick? Not going to make a difference. The Falcons from Concordia, Wisconsin will touch, and we're going to see another hill.
Meathead set up inside. Trophy system will go down. 3 players from the side of Concordia now inside of the point, but the players from UNI Purple pushing through middle map. Jackson, the entry pick. Yidangami there for the trade. They're keeping him outside of the point. 6 more points away from a victory. They start to push in. Meathead lays down. Krig in hand finds one, but Jackson there for the break. They'll get the time. UNI Purple take map number 1. They take their first win here of CCL Season 3 by just 3 singular points. Shift a game that goes down to the wire. That was spectacular.
And it's the fact that, again, both teams played some pretty darn good hard point right there. You know, just kind of watching over some of the week 1 matches, I feel like a lot of the teams that we were kind of not sure on, or they were the B teams for some of the schools that are being represented this year in the College COD League, they were just playing really one-dimensional, where it's just, okay, everyone just get onto the hard point, just stand there, play for spawns. It was very one-dimensional hard point. That wasn't the case here. I mean, for Northern Iowa, I'm confused on how they only found 62 points last week, because they just played absolutely incredible raid hardpoint right there. It comes down to the wire when everything is all said and done, but it will be that lovely shade of purple that draw first blood here in the map set.
And you know, you kind of wonder too, right? You know, so you look at a player or a team that both of these teams have already played against, correct? So
Yes.
UNI Purple has played the side of Madison Esports inside of a best of 3 series. So now as we look at Madison Esports against the side of Concordia, that game was a Game 5 series that went all the way down to the search and destroy at the end, where the side of Concordia was only able to barely scrape by with a 6-4 victory. So you look at the side of Madison Esports, who the side of, for the side of University Purple was able to score, 156 points on. There against the side of Concordia, Concordia scored 181 points. So again,
Right.
it's not always the fact that they could be very similar score lines. It's the fact that both of these two teams match up very, very well against each other. We saw that in game number 1 there. And it also could be a little bit of a case of Concordia kind of maybe underestimating their opponents as they get into this matchup as well, because, a lot of the times you can see a record and say, okay, well, these guys aren't that great. We can kind of lax off and not really have to try as hard this week. This should be an easy walk through the park victory. However, UNI Purple have brought themselves out, brought themselves here, and now are able to be in this series with control going into the S&D on Miami, a map that the side of Concordia has not shown too much savvy on.
And, just kind of talking about this division specifically as we're getting ready for this Miami, this is probably the one division where I think the most question marks kind of surround us, because the only team that's returning really from last year is the Illini Blue squad. Yeah, SIUE, their black team, that's going to be a roster for them. We saw Southern Illinois last year, but everybody else is a brand new school to the CCL. Well, the Lewis Flyers are back, but they didn't finish their season last year, if I remember correctly. So
Yeah.
it's hard to really kind of say, right? Like, it's really kind of difficult to look at the first week of games and be there and say, yeah, this Concordia Wisconsin team is going to be a top team for sure, because they played a couple of question mark teams that we just don't know about. It's just kind of hard to kind of gauge, where's the litmus test as far as who is good and who won't be. And to be fair, we did see that Illinois blue team
Mhm.
play last week, and they looked really, really good. Compared to
Yes,
what
they
they
did.
brought forward as a squad from the season 2 year during Modern Warfare. So yeah, this is, I think, a really fun one for us to have here on stream, just because we're learning a lot about not just these teams, but also kind of rating the strength of schedule in the division overall. So
Yeah.
we'll take a look. We've got Miami coming up next here in the Cornmeal. This map feels very different when there's no snipers, and of course, when there are no smokes, it becomes it becomes interesting. It's all I'll say.
It really does shift, and the ace site, although it was viable beforehand, without a smoke being able to cross through middle map, or without a smoke, maybe or a sniper watching out the long lanes, it kind of just is at the discretion of the team where they want to push on this map. Obviously, B is going to be
Right.
continuing to be that favorable site on this map for the sheer fact that there's a lot of closer range angles, and that it's a lot easier for the offensive side to get to because you can't just send one person with a long range AR over towards the beach side just to watch down and get the rotations back over from B. But a lot of the times you can just, push either through the inner room or get out towards the garage, have a great head glitch for yourselves, maybe to get that first pick, or be able to fly 2 SMGs fast paced through that building in order to get your first pick as well. So for the offensive side, the chef's choice, of course, is going to be the B site, but we got to talk about the A site too, because we got to show it a little bit of love because it is still a viable choice. It's just going to be a little bit more difficult, and a lot of the more, at least the teams that have a lot more chemistry with each other, I feel are going to be more favorable over towards A than a lot of the teams that might not be playing as much together, for the sheer fact that if you play over towards A as a team, you have a lot better of a chance because you know the map, you know where your teammates are going to play, and of course you can get that ping through middle map to where there might not be an AR watching, the entirety of the cross.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing now. We see it a lot, from at least watching over a lot of the top challengers teams in North America, specifically over the last couple of weeks. Not having snipers, not having smokes. If you have a lockdown AR player, why not just have them in the middle of the map and try to take those 1v1s across the middle? Because you control that middle
Yeah.
street, you're cruising through the rest of the map. So we'll have to see what kind of happens. I think I'm hearing that we are still waiting pretty significantly on the lobby to populate. We are. Never mind. We just got in. So while we're kind of looking back through all of this again, make sure you're staying in tune with what's happening, not just here on this mainstream, but also what's going on Bravo, because there are a lot of really key matchups going on. I know a lot of people are looking forward to this battle of the Lone Star State coming up next with UTD COD Orange. That's the University of Texas at Dallas, and they'll be playing up against a new team here to the CCL, Texas State. But they're creating a lot of waves right now as far as their potential. Again, both those teams in the top 25. So it should be a really good battle. I'm excited to watch that one for sure.
The great thing about the CCL early in the season too, just with like any other league, is that a lot of teams can have a really hot start and be like, okay, you know what? We might not have
Absolutely.
seen them last year, or we saw them last year. They've only gotten better going into this season. They look really, really good, really, really early. And especially if a team looks really good early on in the season, that means they have the potential to grow even more over the course of the season. So that is a scary, scary thing to see out of that roster, for the sheer fact that it's early, baby. We got a lot of
Yeah.
CCL coming for the rest of the year. So, talking back to that first raid, though, I do want to point out one thing, too. Siri, for the side of Concordia, I believe he dropped at the end of that game around 35 to 36 kills with only around 16, 17 deaths. So, again, another player that, statistically speaking, has a very, very, very good track record in terms of KD, just raw KD
Sure.
on that map specifically. But again, going into the search and destroy, we look back at this roster, we look back at both of these two teams, and again, it would say Concordia has the stern advantage and the staunch advantage over the side of UNI Purple going into the S&D just based off of the statistics. And again, when you do pair that up with how the side of UNI Purple played in those first two games last week during week one, that was their weakest strength inside of their series. It was a 6-2 and a 6-1 loss for the side of UNI Purple in those search and destroys. Concordia was able to win all of their search and destroys and that game 5 win against the side of the side of Madison Esports. So again, going into the search and destroy, I do expect this side of Concordia to kind of take control of this Miami S&D, but we know how much of a wild card S&D Miami
It
is. So again, everything is off the
really
table,
is.
especially after that first raid map. Everything's off the table already. So I really have no expectations going into this one. But folks, Miami search and destroy. It's time. Concordia on the right, UNI Purple on the left. Round number 1, offensive side. It is going to be the side of UNI Purple looking to make the push.
And I have to imagine that this is a Concordia map pick. Again, just kind of looking back at some of the results, like you had mentioned. Again, the sample size is so low at this stage of the year, and we don't know how to rate the strength of schedule in this division because there are so many unknown new teams. But Jackson, he will find one before dropping. The exchange will be there, so Concordia, Wisconsin will be in a 3v2 situation. But like I was trying to mention here, this Concordia's team, they did find a 6-3 win last week here versus the Madison Esports squad. So something to be said as far as maybe this being their map choice here.
Yeah, well, as Joey goes ahead and makes that rotation back around towards their spawn side, it won't matter. The suffocation comes through from the side of Concordia. They take round number 1 swiftly here. And again, that's a testament on the defensive side of things, how well they played as a cohesive unit on that map. I mean, you just look at where those players were playing. They had those initial picks over towards the top piano building. Then you had the players that were over towards garage that tried to make that push. And like I was saying with Proper the last time we were on the stream here, no good push on any single map, no good push by a team is complete without winning those one-on-one gunfights. So even if you have the best setup in the world, no matter what happens, you gotta win your one-on-ones. You gotta win those initial gunfights, even if it does come in the way of a trade.
And a lot of those search and destroy mechanics that you're looking for, those little bait and switches, those little double peeks, a lot of that will be kind of seen right over here through B because everything is in close quarters, right? Topside piano, typically going to be seeing a lot of SMG action, and then also on the outside through the parking garage, typically seeing a lot of ARs looking at one another. And for Falcons of CUW, they will find the first 2 kills, one mid-map, and then the other right here in the POV of Siri. He's already found 3 kills so far through 2 rounds.
UNI Purple playing the defensive round extremely well, at least for the time being. They've played it back. They've played it smart. They've let the side of Concordia start to make pushes up through the map and get themselves caught off guard. However, as the rotation over towards A does commence, it is going to be 2 players on the side of UNI Purple still over at B. It's going to be a late rotation. No shots, no kill going to be found in middle map. However, that is going to allow the side of Concordia to get the bomb down over towards the beach. So a post-plant push now for the side of UNI Purple. The shot still won't connect here for Jackson. That's got to hurt as he's put about maybe 15 to 20 bullets in that player and then gets killed by You Done Got Me. 1 versus 3 Treasy for the retake.
So much damage, no kills. That's gonna feel really bad. It's like, why won't you die? Okay, I'm gonna ask because you're compared to me, a younger guy. Have you seen the movie Austin Powers?
I have seen the movie Austin Powers, and I have to say it's one of the all-time greats in my opinion.
I've found myself making a lot of Austin Powers reference in the last couple of broadcasts, and the amount of people that will continue to say, "What's that?" I go, "No, I can't be that old. That's got to be like a prerequisite, like to get your adulthood card. You have to see Austin Powers at least once. It just has to happen."
And well, I must say, coming from a younger gentleman here, Austin Powers as a movie, it got me through a couple of rough nights. Let's just say that with the comedic essence that is brought to the table, it's just it's something.
It's classic.
Folks, even
First blood this time here though for the UNI Panthers as they look to make their approach over towards B. All 4 members will be stacking for this. Jackson has swapped off the AR and is picking up the 74U. And it's going to be on to Meathead all the way in the back. Cruzy on the jump wall. And, well, Meathead has done maybe arguably enough. He finds 1 kill. He should be able to read for his squad that the push is going to be here at B. And even though, of course, that will be confirmed with the bomb planted, at least for the Falcons, they've rotated both of their defensive members from A immediately to be here by the B site.
Aggression huge on Miami, especially on the offensive side. I don't know what Dewey was doing there as he looked over to the left when I hope clearly he was able to see him inside of the Evermore building. But now Jackson and his teammate Dreezy still in a 2 versus 2 scenario. The first kill this one is going Jackson's way, hops over the wall, finds the shots there onto the second one as well. Ship, that is what I call a beam stick, and that is what I call a little 1 versus 2 then.
Did you say to that order? The beam stick, then the 1v2? It could be like the 1v2 beam stick?
And, you know,
pretty fortunate. I didn't realize how low he was tagged up right there. About 1 bullet left in his health pool, but goodness.
Offensive round here for the side of Concordia. They weren't able to go ahead and pull it off the last time. However, UNI Purple, we know that they have the opportunity to be a little bit aggressive, but do you want to be aggressive enough on the defensive side to where you're able to get either inside of that building control over towards top or over towards the garage side? But as the push through piano is going to come through, it's actually going to be a 2 cent over towards A, and I don't think the side of UNI Purple actually picked up that the rotation came after they got a couple of kills over towards B, so they prematurely send 2 players over towards the unpreferred bomb site, and this should allow Concordia to be able to push up and get a lot of pressure early on here at A, or excuse me, at B.
Really, for me, just comes down to what happens here in this middle of the map, because you're not going to really see these 2 Falcon players doing much until they can read what is in front of them. And, well, that seems to be the mindset right now. You done got me watching over mid-map. Meathead is watching the long cross as you can kind of see those arrows lighting up as they continue to exchange gunfire. And at what point do you say, okay, we're going to go? Because there have been no senses of utility being tossed out over towards B, and this is going to be a commitment you would feel like. Meathead up top on the hotel is going to try to scout for any rotations, but there's no need to rotate if there's no push. And eventually it looks like Wisconsin will try to sit here and, I don't know, take a late hit. It's running out of time.
I'm not sure the exact play here. I get being a little bit slower on the offensive side, waiting for maybe UNI Purple to push up just a bit, but as you done got me, should get a Semtex right to the face. A couple of players are going to go down by the way of Siri, so now is a 1 versus 2 situation. They've got to get this bomb down. We'll get it in time. However, player number 4 is still all the way over at the AS&D site, not realizing that maybe there was players over towards B. I'm not really sure exactly what the player expected to be happening there, because that was a bit of a late rotation, especially if his teammates called out there was at least 2 to 3 players over at B.
Through bottom green, not going to be anything there as he was met by a waiting Falcon. So it'll be 3-1 here for CUW Esports. But UNI, I mean, a lot of these rounds have been pretty close. To be honest, I mean, these have not been blowout rounds by any stretch of the imagination. This little play from Siri is what really wins it here for the Falcons.
Slayin has left the game. Unfortunate for him, he looked like he was trying to get on some CCL action here tonight, Shift. But unfortunately didn't realize that there was 2 teams already playing and doing battle in Miami Search and Destroy. 3-1. Concordia has won 2 of their offensive rounds as well as a nice staunch defense. But UNI Purple, the last time they were on the offensive side, they were able to take the round away from Concordia. So as we segue in here to another round of Search and Destroy, player number 6 will just be playing a quick corner over towards B, looking over towards the top on the staircase. Interestingly enough, UNI Purple has not sent anybody up in towards the top of the building pretty much the entirety of this game thus far. They like to play the garage, and it seems like it's a bit more of an old-fashioned push, especially from what we saw at the very beginning of this game. However, as the retake is going to have to potentially come through here from Concordia, nobody's gotten that first blood yet, so playing passively is both of these teams once again.
Point of contact could potentially be coming out here between UE and a couple of different Falcons. Remember, that will be the case. Off screen, he will fall. Meathead finds one, also locks down Jackson. Nice double there for him. 7-2 for Meathead for the Falcons, looking really strong. And then Dreezy gets pitched up. Really not much for him to do in that 1v multiple situation. So 4-1. That was probably the most convincing round that we've seen so far, though, if we're being honest with both these teams.
And it all just came down to that Meathead 2-piece to start the round off. Got that first pick, was able to find that second player as well. So, you know, when you do have a player like Meathead with that AR who's able to control the entirety of Garage, and the side of UNI Purple is not looking to get extremely aggressive, it's going to not only allow you to hold down the map completely, but obviously when you're enforcing a 2 versus 4 hand of UNI Purple, it's going to win you most likely the round every single time. So, again, first blood's always going to be important in Search and Destroy. We know this. We've seen this. We've had this throughout the entirety of Search and Destroy's existence in Call of Duty and every other title that has a Search and Destroy based system. So every single round that you do get that first pick, you should at least be able to win it, but it all depends. Oh, that was really unfortunate timing there, but Jackson opts to go ahead and find Cruzy there instead of going for You Done Got Me right away, but the trade will come through. 3 versus 3, bomb still in the hands of Concordia.
It's a hell of a response right there from You Done Got Me. Again, that's the entirety of this Falcons push, is trying to get through bottom piano, and if that gets shut down and stuff, well, the bomb will be down, and you're in a very weird odd man situation with not a lot of ground to speak of, because Meathead's playing over the middle of the map, and you still have Siri playing very slowly through the outside of Garage. So now it just comes down to who's going to move next. I mean, last time for the Falcons, they didn't hit until there's like 15 seconds left in the round. They barely had even the time to get the bomb planted, and I like to say this a lot. If you like to flirt with the end of the clock like that, sometimes it'll come out and bite you. That could be potentially the case. Siri going to take one challenge. He goes 1 for 1. And so for that, now both teams go 2v2, and they're going to try to rotate this. Big confusion, lots of question marks. Posky shuts it down, and now Meathead, he'll be tagged up so low that he really can't go A, and there's really not a lot of time for him to clear any space over by B either.
And I love that player 3 actually rotated back all the way over towards his teammate to play the long street here instead of staying close up on that B bomb. This is essentially going to allow. Oh no, please don't push. Oh, if Meathead gets these, okay, Shift. I'm sorry, but that scared me for 2 reasons. One, I thought that maybe they were going to allow the player to get the bomb down for a split second, and 2, when you both push that player at the end of the round like that, that leaves opportunity for Meathead to go ahead and clutch a 1 versus 2 there late in the round. So fortunately enough, he doesn't find the shots onto either of those 2 players. But at that point, just play the clock, play your lives, run out of there. He doesn't have time to plant, and if he does, you can have an easy retake since you have a player along B Street.
Yeah, I can see the call, though. I mean, for the Panthers, they're sitting there saying, okay, he's got to be making a plan at B. Let's just make sure he's not caught on the bomb. But yeah, very dangerous. I mean, risk versus reward. Not really super risky, but there was the potential still that 1v2 based on proximity of players. So now Jackson up top. by himself currently. The bomb's being held by Yui, and he's just right in front of Piano at the moment. Poshki also trying to contest potentially. Exchange of utility comes through, and Poshki's going to get caught from behind here. Yeah, pinch between two different players. You done got me stays alive. Hit up the middle of the map. Cruzy going to get some help from Siri over the top. Good team shots coming through. And once again, Concordia, Wisconsin in a great position. Last player will now just be down to Dreezy. No bomb in hand, and he's been in a position where he hasn't been able to even respond to any of these potential trades.
Well, man of the docks, man of the finer things. Playing his life. 1 versus 3. M4 in hand. On a 2 streak here thus far. They were able to win 2 rounds inside of this game. However, this does not look like one of those they'll be able to win. However, with that first blood there on the meathead makes this a lot more doable. The players from Concordia are relatively spread out, but enough to where they can find a potential trade here. But Siri should be able to find the shots over the top on the dock as he looks over towards the player planting the bomb, and that will do it. Concordia will put themselves a match point up 5-2 off just, again, another great round where they're able to find those first picks, play together with trades, and Shift, I'm sure you saw it there. They all played in towards that piano building after they got that first pick, and every single time there was either team shots from across the map or a player who was able to get up close and personal with somebody who was trying to play.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, I mean, let's be honest here. For a 5-2 scoreline, it definitely doesn't feel like a 5-2 game. I mean, there have been some mistakes and opportunities, I would say, missed more than anything else from both sides of the coin here. And a lot of it has just been a couple of offensive uncertainties, really, right? I mean, for Concordia, Wisconsin, it's been so late. It's like, okay, we'll just wait for them to push into us. But in what world have you ever watched a Miami Search and Destroy where the defense pushes any further beyond the top side of piano? Pretty rare that happens, but this time, Siri finds first blood. It's actually over the middle of the map as he was playing the top side of Hotel. But as the push will be up top, Yui not going to be able to get you done. Got me. And there will not be an immediate trade, but Jackson is nearby trying to play through the bottom side of Piano, and he will be flushed out. Last player will be Dreezy, 1v4 to try to extend the map.
Well, Dreezy once again, it's just because of the slow play that he has every single round. But great little shot there from Cruzy to end it all. But Shift, you know, again, UNI Purple, they have not been great in their search and destroys. It hasn't been one of their strong suits throughout the season. It's something that a team can get better on. Unfortunately, the problem that comes when you're not able to win a lot of those search and destroy games is the fact that a lot of the teams, and I'm sure you've seen this as well, a lot of the teams are much preferring to scrim either hardpoint or their controls or any of the respawn game modes compared to search and destroy. So it's hard to find really good, solid practice for search and destroys unless you want to spend, you know, a little bit of money to go play a tournament maybe or a couple wagers. But, you know, getting scrims for the opportunity to get better, just playing search and destroy comes far few in between. And, you know, again, for the side of UNI Purple, it's very possible to get better at search and destroy. I think the most practice that they're going to get, though, is playing in these situations and trying to take as much away as they can every single week from these search and destroys and trying to get better as the entire year continues on. And
it's experience builds those repetitions up. You're going to start to find that comfortability, I think, for both of these teams, not just for one or the other. But we will be setting things here to a raid before we go to the raid control. A very tight hard point on raid. Will we see something similar for our other respawn mode? We'll find out. We'll step away for just a moment and come back with Concordia, Wisconsin and University of Northern Iowa Purple right after this. Hello there, friendly faces. We're ready back to go here with map number 3. It's going to be raid for the control. Again, raid the 1, 3, and the potential 5th map here. But we have already guaranteed ourselves the map 4, second hard point of Checkmate, which, well, let's be honest, we didn't talk about it yet, but just to kind of foreshadow a little bit, not exactly great news for UNI, because that was the map that they got only 62 points on versus the Illini Blue team. But you were mentioning just before going into this control that for the Northern Iowa Panthers, might be an opportunity here to steal their way into the map because overall, their collective KD's not bad on control considering that they have not yet still won a control map in their first 2 maps.
Yeah, and, you know, the KD is always not going to be leading the story here for, you know, who's the best team and all that. But I will say that the 2 matches that they had against their 2 previous opponents were a 3-0 and a 3-1 loss. So, again, even though the KDs say that they are, statistically speaking, the better control team out of all their other game modes, it is going to be interesting to see if they can go ahead and either A, find the win here or make it a little bit more closely competitive than it has been beforehand between them and their previous teams. But, however, as we hop in here, it is going to be the side of UNI Purple on the left and the side of Concordia on the right.
I believe our upper overlay is actually a bit backwards right here. As it's going
Scrap
to
what I
be
said.
Concordia. Yeah, they are on the offense here first. There we go. Appropriately swapped around. And, well, first attempt for the Falcons onto the A zone is successful. You know, a lot of people have been talking largely about this raid control, talking about the simple fact that the spawns being literally on top of A for the offense, or if you get pushed back, a very easy avenue to get to B leads to this being a much more offensively friendly control map. And, well, I'll tell you, largely I can agree with that because 2 minutes and 20 seconds just to play for one more zone is a whale of an amount of time.
And I don't know if I necessarily love the push here from the side of Concordia through the back of Laundry. However, it does fall in their favor. What I was going to say forward is the fact that if you do fly through Laundry and you're not able to push out far enough over towards basketball court before the side of your opponent spawns up, that actually can spawn your opponent closer towards that objective point than you might have liked them to spawn, which can then, of course, completely set down your push. And I believe Poshki might have thought that he had an extra gun in the back pocket, but no, just fists. Unfortunately, you can't punch him from that far. However, he will get cut down from behind.
Tough scenes, tough scenes. We've seen one execution so far, but no more finesse with any of the fisticuffs or things of that nature. It will look like this should be a third tick of progress coming through pretty quickly here for the Falcons. I mean, it's just one of those things that you get broken like that off the rip defensively. There's not a lot that you can expect to go your way when it comes to the A zone. But the bad news here for UNI was the fact that they never really got a good setup for their B zone either. Falcons were able to worm their way right on in, find the easy break, and then from that point on, it was just cleaning up kills one by one they came, and one by one they fell. Nice little moment there for Siri as he finds the final two to lock that third tick of progress for the first successful offense for CW.
Yeah, and UNI Purple, okay, you get broken on the first one, fine, but they had a good setup over towards B initially. The problem is that Concordia played their strings right. They pushed players through middle map and around through back Laundry to where either A, they could get into the kitchen, or B, they could fly around through that water step side and make the pinch play happen. So Concordia, what they were able to do is they set up the pinch play, they executed on the pinch play, they stole the time there, they stole the round, and of course now up 1-0. UNI Purple on the offensive side looking to go ahead and potentially do exactly what the side of Concordia did to them just one round ago.
A little bit easier said than done, though. A lot of pressure in the middle of the map here for the Falcons. It's actually leading to a lot of defensive success for them. Meathead also pushing forward, has a nice little angle over towards the driveway. Not going to find a kill, and Dreezy will punish. But again, the trades are pretty sustainable here for the Falcons. You still have members that are pushed into the bottom side of Art, which is not great if you're a Panthers fan. Poshki will eventually eliminate the threat and then look to go forward, but Meathead has picked up exactly where that push had left off. So 3 straight kills there for the Falcons. They find themselves in a 6th life lead, and even though the clock is currently being stalled by Yui, who's over on the B zone, there are not a lot of members in white that are here to help them.
Yeah, well, with just one player over here towards the zone, it's going to be quite difficult. And even though the contest does come through, there is still going to be a player inside of Tiki, and I believe he should have gotten the call out from the rest of his teammates, and that's exactly what happens. The rest of the players now from the side of UNI Purple starting to make the push from water steps. However, it can be a bit of a tricky push, especially with the power position that the players from Concordia have with that window. But if they can win that one-on-one gunfight, or even if they go ahead and find the trade here, it should allow them to get the B zone. However, one of the things I do want to say, Alan, is here on this map, specifically of Raid, over towards A, if you do get the B zone first, it can be very, very difficult to go ahead and find the A zone. So honestly, even if they do get B here, would you rather have the A zone first before B, pending, of course, the spawns don't come through and the side of Concordia can then sit up on those power positions?
For me, it's purely situational, because if you've got the ability to make sure that after you capture the B zone, you're able to take your side of the map away and make sure that for the Falcons, they don't get a successful zone of the A control point, then it's actually not too bad, because again, the spawns are so darn close to A. But the problem is the Falcons are zoning every inch of the map. I mean, you've got Siri watching over the top safely from top Art. You had Cruzy, who was playing backside of the garage. That all not only takes time, but of course also takes away lives. The Falcons looking like they should be just fine to get themselves the second defense. And it looks like also beyond that, Siri has gotten himself fully streaked out. Meathead could be just behind him, and he's 10-2, 5 in a row. And I guess it is important to mention, because we haven't done so yet, streaks have been re-enabled for this week of the CCL for the first time.
Interesting. I did not know that. They say you learn something new every day, and you just enlighten my entire day by saying that, because I do love the usage of streaks. It allows for a lot more utility on the map, and obviously streaks were being able to now be set up right, and they've been kind of been tested around inside of the challenger scene for the first couple of weeks of play, and more so recently, obviously, than beforehand. But in control, would you say that although round winning is important in the way of getting control of the zones, that you do need to go ahead and execute on the slaying front of things as well in order to go ahead and win a game? Would you say that's a fair assessment?
Yeah, it's just again, it's one of those things that like again, you have to think about control for what it is. There are three different types of win conditions. You've got the lives, you've got the control zones, and then of course you've got the timer. So if you're able to take success in one of those three areas, it just comes down to at what point do you commit to winning the game off of that one condition. So like I'm meeting right here for the Falcons, it looks like they're going to control this A zone. No one's going to be able to really get here to contest because of the stack. So you've got 2 minutes and 20 seconds. Do you want to just full flood the 2 minutes and 20 seconds just on to B, on to B, on to B again? Or do you want to try to turn the success that you get off the map positioning into, let's try to dwindle some lives. Let's try to kill off some of the clock if you're on the defensive side. There are a lot of different conditions that are in play, and apparently the only condition that matters is you done got me coming through and getting everybody. A slick little two-piece for him, and as Siri clears up the kitchen, now there's an opportunity to turn this life lead into some of that progress onto the B zone.
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to kind of allude to with that as well is, for the side of UNI Purple, unfortunately, this has not been a slay-heavy match for them combined on the entirety of that roster. You're looking at about 21 kills in total right now, just purely off of KD, not KDA, but if you look to a player on the side of Concordia who has had himself not only just a fantastic game, but has played the objective the most out of his entire team. Go ahead and take a look towards Siri. Statistically speaking, the best KD out of all the players on the side of Concordia, and again, proving so here inside of this control. Obviously, folks, remember if you were not here for map number 1, it was a 3-point victory for the side of UNI Purple. However, since the Search and Destroy has happened, this series has been all Concordia, and as we continue to see these pick plays come through, these aggressive plays from both of these two sides come through, it has consistently been Concordia who comes out on top.
Yeah, this, again, it's just one of those things that if I were to be in the backseat here coaching this UNI Purple squad, we need to work on what we're doing off the rim. I think both offensively, but especially defensively. We cannot be sitting here and allowing the first break attempt for CW to actually be successful. You cannot allow them to have 2 minutes and 20 seconds of time. It takes 5 to 6 seconds just to get to the zone itself. So we need to do a better job of contesting space. That's like number one what has to happen. But then beyond that, we need to know if we're going to chalk up a zone defensively, where are we going to zone off the map? We need to put some pressure across other angles besides, okay, we lose the A zone, let's just make sure we're all over B. Not really. We got to make sure that we're getting some pressure to respawn. We need to make sure we're reading where the hit's coming from, and we're able to respond to that accordingly. It just felt like, even though there were some positive KD stat lines for us to talk about from Northern Iowa collectively as a team, that's definitely a mode that we need to get into the lab in and just kind of talk over more than anything else. You don't even need to play over this. Let's talk over it first so we know exactly what we're doing when we come out of spawn.
Yeah, and Shiv, one of the things I highlighted earlier in the series in the hard point was how good you and I played together on the map. They looked extremely cohesive around the
Especially
map
in
that first rate hard point. And, I've kind of been asking myself round after round in the last couple of game modes, where is that same unit that we saw in map number 1? Where did they go? Is it something that happened between the communication front? Is it something that happened after, that first couple of rounds of the Search and Destroy where maybe the mood was kind of deflated somewhat? I mean, you go into a series with a high head of steam, a hot head of steam, and you're like, okay, we're going to go into this, we're going to play our game, and we're going to play this together. However, that togetherness has just not been there thus far. Concordia has played extremely well together, as we've seen from the last 2 maps specifically. It seems every time the side of Concordia gets, maybe a 1 kill off of their team, it's another 2 to 3 kills that go in their favor. And for UNI Purple, it's every time that one person gets a kill, it's 3 deaths to your team at the same time. So again, it all is going to come down to playing together on the map as a team, and UNI Purple, they're going to need to show that here on Checkmate, or else they're at jeopardy of going ahead and losing this series 3-1.
And this, again, has to be a huge bounce back for them. After they played against the Illini Blue squad, they only found 62 points here. So is it just one of those things like, for Raid, it's a little bit scrappier in the ability to kind of rotate around the map. For Checkmate, you don't have plane control. You're not winning long AR battles. You're not going to win a rotation. It's just simply the way that things go here for this map. So we'll have to see how that kind of unfolds. And if there are going to be some substantial adjustments here for this UNI squad. For the other side of things, though, again, the Checkmate hardpoint is something that for Concordia, they also did not find a victory in their first attempt when they played up against the University of Wisconsin-Madison Badgers in their match that they had last week for week number 1. So I think largely it's kind of hard to speculate because, again, the sample size is so darn low. as far as how many times the teams have been able to play on, all of the different map modes combinations, let alone play alone. So I think that we got to take for what it is. It's been the opening week. It wasn't a great opening week for UNI Purple, and well, at least getting out of this one, if they do end up losing this matchup, at least you've got some success to kind of build off of, not just from the raid hardpoint, but a lot of those rounds that we saw in Miami Search and Destroy were also pretty comprehensive for them as well.
Yeah, well, there's always a potential for a wild card, and if UNI has
That's for
anything
sure.
up their sleeve right now, it's got to come out here. Again, we talked about it before. UNI Purple 0-2 thus far here in the CCL, looking for their first victory here. They've already got a small victory in this series, taking their first map of the CCL season as well, so that's a great step in the right direction for them, especially winning against, or taking a map off of a team like Concordia, who are 2-0, who has beat their previous adversaries that have taken them down in a lot less time. So Concordia, even though that they've gotten by and kind of scraped the barrel on some of their wins that they've been able to go ahead and pull off of different teams, UNI Purple, they need to come out here, obviously, for the sheer fact that they want to push this to a map number 5, but I think more than anything, you've got to take this series as a learning lesson. You've got to take this as a learning ability, because you see game number 1, you say, okay, look how good we played together on the map. Take what you know about that map, take what you learned from beating that team and how that kind of felt for your entire roster, turn that into more fuel, but more importantly, go back and watch the VODs from Miami. Look at how your team was playing a little bit slower, look how your team was playing a little bit passive, either on the offensive and defensive side, and kind of take it back there, and the same thing with the control. Go back and watch those VODs, see how that goes. But folks, game number 4 here, hard point on checkmate. Concordia on the right in blue, UNI Purple on the left in purple.
The opening off the break looks solid for the Falcons as they do clear up the plane, only giving away a single kill thus far. It's 3 in a row for Cruzy, and him and Siri have really played very nicely. Meathead says, what about me, as he finds a second straight kill, and he will actually just wallbang for the third to boot with that. So 20 seconds to play here for the first hard point. Concordia in a pretty powerful position, not only because they've gotten 10 seconds worth of time, but of course, more importantly, we look down at the mini-map. We sit there and tally who is on the right side for P2, and the answer is the Falcons. You done got me. Gonna get a little bit of help here from Meathead. That's a 3-for-1 exchange. The scrap time confirmed, and with that, also the rotation to P2.
Up top, Meathead. I mean, a player jumped up on the wing, and well, before the time it even eclipsed, maybe 2 seconds, the player had met his life's demise, but pushing through middle map, Dewey's trying to get bottom middle controlling. Concordia, even though they've gone ahead and they played for a lot of time over towards the top of P1, they really didn't get much time whatsoever. A lot of it was contest time, as we see, is kind of consistent here on checkmate, but as the rotations over towards P2 come through, UNI Purple, I'd like to see them maybe push over towards the bottom south part of the map right now, because you see players number 6 and 7 making a play, and even though they actually go through the front door here and are able to win the majority of their gunfights, you want to play for those spawns, especially early on that first push. So maybe kind of an idea that they had in the back of their mind, okay, well, if we don't really want to keep these spawns for the next couple of points, let's just try to push through the front and see how much time we can get. But I think that kind of also plays their skills a little bit more as well.
No.
Wow.
Okay, well. Oh, boy.
Right.
It's all right, Jackson. Happens to the best of us. And league play, it happens more often than you'd like to see.
Shift,
but
you got a beamer. Don't let anybody play you differently. You've got a beam. No, you've got a beam stick. You are the AR Prince. God King.
No, not true at all. Not
absolutely true.
Cruzy hasn't died yet, by the way. He's just kind of anchoring down spawns, but now he tries to get a little bit more involved. 8-0 to start, nearly an opportunity to get some help onto Drizzy. You done got me. Will find himself the exchange for the trade. So about a 30-point game here for the Falcons, but again, we did see UNI find some success on their break attempt, at least the secondary one to the second hard point. The thing about it is on these P3, P1 hills, right in and below the plane, you just got to do better to be, I think, a little bit more contest heavy and use that 60 seconds as an opportunity to kind of rotate around the hill to get into a favorable position for the one that's coming up, which of course will be on the north side of our minimap here for the P4 containers.
About those rotations, Jackson was trying to make a big play for the side of UNI Purple before he eventually met his demise. He actually had the left side of the map completely controlled for Ps 3 and 4 for those spawns. However, as he was able to find 1 kill, the player spawned up behind them, so they had 2 players over towards that half side of the left part of the map, which eventually led to the side of Concordia spawning over there. So folks, if you were wondering how spawns worked in this game, it's basically split up into basically 4 different sections, if you can say that. But with halfway presence on the map being in control of Concordia over towards the left side of the map, they're going to have those rotational spawns for P4 and 5. However, Shift, one thing we haven't talked about yet, top plane control and how important that can be for the entirety of the map.
Yeah, I like to say that you should be focusing the plane from the scrap time at P2 up through the initial time at P5. Because everything in the middle, obviously P3, red or green, you control that plane, you're in a great position to kind of down with numbers, zone off any ability to kind of get reinforcements there. Same idea really for P4. I mean, again, it is right in the middle of the map, and if you've got some ARs that can lock down those topside plane wings, you're stalling rotations at a drastic pace. So yeah, I think that what you're seeing largely right now, why there's a bit of a favor here for the Falcons, is the fact that they've done a little bit better to get inside the plane through those times. Now, granted, for University of Northern Iowa, they're actually doing pretty nicely to grab the scrap time here at P4, so they were able to reduce the deficit pretty nicely. The big question is, can they find a way to get over to P5 with some time to actually spare to get some contested?
It's all going to come down here to player number 4, and Posh guy. Plays up towards the top lane. Teammates over towards the hill are going to push through, but Jewy's finally going to be able to take down player number 5 and towards the point. So trades do come back and forth, at least in the technical sense of things. But as we keep seeing Concordia do, they keep running up that staircase back over towards top lane. They're not opting to go straight for P4 control instantaneously once they spawn up. What they're doing is they're getting top lane control so their ARs can reign supreme over towards the hill. Then the submachine gun players can push up either through the kill house over towards that building side to get into the point to where then they can have a great pinch play set up. And that's something that they've done the entire game shift. They've looked like the better team for one reason and one reason alone. It's because they play the entirety of the map together and not just small quadrants.
It's marginal advantages, though. I mean, again, one of the things that I largely say is if you're a squad that you play for 40-20 splits where you get the initial 40 seconds with the time and you just give up the back 20 to play for the early rotation to the next hard point, you'll eventually win the game off of it. Again, it's a marginal lead that you'll be finding yourself in the halfway point, but if you can successfully go at least 40 seconds on some of these big points, you're going to be all right. But for the Panthers, definitely do not count them out yet. This feels very familiar to what we saw in Raid. It was a nice advantage early for the Falcons, but for UNI, they were able to bounce back pretty nicely around the second rotation worth of hills, and we're seeing a little bit of that here. Just about a 10-point game. Meathead able to take down the last contestant inside this first hill. But there will be some nice crossfires coming through. Dreezy, he's actually off screen in front of the second hard point. He's won a couple eliminations, and now an opportunity for the Panthers to actually push forward and contest the spawns for B2.
There's only one word to describe this game, and it's been scrappy. Again, you said it was the same as map number 1, scrappy as well. Both of these two teams had opportunities to get big chunks of time in multiple areas. However, they weren't able to do it the majority of the time. Top plane control, once again, teams only got about 20 seconds combined on P1, same as we saw at the very beginning of this map because of those heavy contests at the very beginning. But now as the rotations over to P2 come through, Dreezy will go in towards the front, play his life in towards this yellow crate. And for the side of Concordia, now it's just kind of a reset. You say, okay, well, we've got the back control. Let the side of UNI purple feel good, get a little bit of control, and while we take everybody else around the map off of the point, we're going to leave that last player on the point to where we can send 2 to 3 players over there to retake it. Great stuff from Concordia. They continue to hold down the spawns, but more importantly, they've still got P2 in their hands.
Now, last time we were at this point, UNI found a successful break right around the 30 seconds from the front. Dungotney is in a really awful spot. He will fall. Jackson finds another. That's going to be the spawn flip coming through here. And once again, there is a break for UNI from the front. Drew's in a very familiar position. This is where he was last time through, where he was just anchoring, finding himself a number of kills in a row. That will continue to be the case, but really largely for the Panthers, that's not bad. You get in, you can test about 15 seconds worth of time, and you're, again, able to make sure this game does not get out of hand. The big question from here is, at what point can you actually win a hard point? Because you're going to need to, otherwise the game is not just going to get out of hand. It will likely be about over.
Well, the last time they had this hill contested, it was the side of Concordia that was spawning over towards the left side of the map. UNI Purple was still spawning over towards P2, and we saw a very nasty spawn trap that came from Concordia because of that top plane control we had alluded to already. So Siri actually going to be able to find a couple in the hill, find himself on a 3 streak, and as players are pushing over from the AS&D side of things, it is going to be Meathead who sees and spots out Dreezy over towards the right. So knows where the contested player is, can take him out swiftly. Another one there, but Dewey will be able to win that fight. However, he was one shot from the gunfight beforehand that allowed for the trade to come through. So Concordia, last time they were here, they didn't really hold too much of this hill, and UNI Purple was able to go ahead and find the majority of P4. However, now the rotations over to P4 are going to be in UNI's control, as long as player number 8 can get taken down by player number 1 here.
See, point of contact comes through. Jackson does win the gunfight, wants to take the second, as he did see You Done Got Me sneak into this initial time. And again, this position up top for Cruzy, you can make sure that the middle of the map stays safe. You can also put some fire down from above. He does find one elimination, but Dreezy will get the instant trade. So now Meathead is looking to make a play through the back. Poshki can't deal with the response of the reinforcements from the Falcons. Meathead's pre-fire is good. Looking for maybe a little bit of help. Last player is right in front of him. This is a smart play. Let your teammates do the work first. Come on, follow through afterwards. That will lead to a break for the Falcons. over 170. UNI, yeah, they've got the favorable spawns for P5, but that's still 30 seconds away. You've got to find a way to contest here.
Yeah, and Ship, that very well could have been the dagger for the side of Concordia. That looked like UNI had Purple's advantage there to go ahead and at least tie the game up or get damn near close to doing it. We talk about big plays on the map all the time. What's going to be able to flip the scripts? What's going to put your team in the best position possible to go ahead and win a game? And of course, UNI Purple can lock down a hard point for 60 seconds. But from what we've been able to see thus far, they have not been able to do that. Even in the raid, they really weren't able to hold down a full 60 seconds. It was always 30 to 40 seconds, a very scrappy point indeed. And as we do get these rotations over towards P5, it is going to be UNI Purple for the first part of it, but player number 8 in series actually going to win a huge gunfight over towards the back staircase. Could lead to a potential flank maybe coming through, but more importantly, they've got top lane control. They can push into the front here behind series dominant main AL.
You are hearing some streaks starting to come through. That's from Cruzy. He finds 2 with the cruise missile. But even still, with that in mind, UNI still existing on the point for now. Cruzy going to try to aggress forward. Kiwi going to beat him over by comms, able to find the elimination. Opportunity here for the Panthers to break right back through, but you done got me. Stays alive, also sees the threat that's right in front of him through the top side of wood. Good help coming from behind, just deals with the last player, and that leads to the Falcons being over 200 points. And now for UNI, still spawning in the back. You cannot allow this scrap time to come through, and you've got to quickly do it so you can get into the play to make sure the Falcons don't win.
Huge gunfight up towards the top here. Dreezy's got another one to win here, but as Jewy's going to be trying to play and help towards P5, they've got to be focused on the next rotation. You have other teammates who are spawning up in the back who can then go ahead and take down player number 6 and Meathead, who's trying to make that flank play happen, but as the streaks rain down, Siri will find 3 with the cruise missile, and that very well could have done it. That could spell the end. Poshki will fall. They've got top plane control. They can just go ahead, push up a little bit further here in towards the plane, look for a couple more players coming up the steps, but with 20 seconds left, and that's all they need, this should be a game win, a 3-1 series win for the side of Concordia.
Last player inside is going to be Jackson. Will fall. Artillery strike. Make sure the reinforcements cannot get here. 23 seconds left on the hard points. Even if you contest this, again, for UNI Purple, the news does not get much better because you've got to try to find your way over to P2 as well. So the first step will be coming through. Jackson trying to falls. There's 249 and 250. Concordia, Wisconsin. Again, we talked about those marginal advantages through the first rotation of Hills. It was only a 20-second game at that point, but I think for both of us before, we kind of read that this one could get out of hand pretty quickly, and boy, did it.
It really did, and again, it came down to that one player for towards P4. The game was relatively closely contested, but after P2, that the side of UNI Purple had broken into, the P3 rotation didn't help, with the side of Concordia getting about 20 to 30 seconds of an advantage, but once they were able to break that P4, especially after Jackson had got that 3-piece to take control of it initially, that kind of just spelled the very, very end for the side of UNI Purple's hopes and dreams to potentially send that to a game at number 5. So again, 3-1 lead here, rather a 3-1 victory for the side of Concordia. They'll improve to 3-0 on the season. UNI Purple will go ahead and fall to 0-3. And again, you mentioned at the very, very, very beginning of this broadcast that there's still a lot of time to play left. And of course, the second half of the season where UNI Purple could find themselves a resurgence potentially, but they've still got a lot of time before even that happens. So especially after taking that first big win on that raid hardpoint to start this series off, we know that they have the potential. It's just, can they go ahead and keep composure throughout the entirety of the series to where they can go ahead and take more than just one map in a series? Again, it's a start though. They take their first map win out of the entirety of the Season 3 season.
And I think just kind of, again, we didn't get a lot of time to really kind of go back through, and we didn't see the second matchup that UNI Purple had to play, last week. But the fact that they're able to come back through and play a little bit more correctly, I think overall when it comes to the hard point, even though they didn't really have a good solid setup opportunity on checkmate, that's inspiring stuff. You make those improvements, eventually you'll be in a position where not you're just taking maps, you can start beating some players and teams that are in this division. Again, it's a very interesting one. We just don't really know what to expect coming out of it. But like you mentioned, Concordia, Wisconsin will be improving their stat line to 3-0 overall. And now we look forward to what's coming up next here on the mainstream. A battle in the Lone Star State as UTD COD Orange, rated number 19, will be playing up against Texas State, rated number 21. You're not going to want to miss that one. It's Visions and Proper on the call when we come back after this.